The radio drama that you are about to hear is one in a series created to mark Prince Edward Island's 150 years as a Canadian province. It is set in Summerside, the principal service centre of Prince County. The island that would eventually be named Prince Edward Island has often been referred to as the Million-Acre Farm, or in the current day, Food Island, due to the bounty harvested from its land and sea. For hundreds of years, its indigenous people gathered and hunted from the land and sea, taking only what they needed for survival. The French, upon their arrival, focused first on the catch of the sea and then on the land to supply food for Louisbourg and Cape Breton. The Mi'kmaq and French coexisted peacefully in sharing the resources. When the British claimed ownership of the island, they set out to establish an agrarian society, which pushed the Mi'kmaq to the periphery of their own land. It was quickly discovered by government that there was a need to educate many of the new European settlers on best practices in a new land in order to increase production and quality of life. Agricultural exhibitions, a public display of people's work, became a competitive way to show off improvements and encourage food producers to strive for perfection. The first Prince County exhibition was held in Summerside in 1868, and by 1873, the annual event was well established.
Ah, what a beautiful day for mid-October.
No better day could be ever asked for the staging of the Prince County exhibition. It is as the heavens themselves ordered it for the yeomen to show off their harvest.
Come now, James. Yeoman is an old country label best forgotten. I prefer farmer to describe our food producers, especially now that we are no longer a colony of Britain, but a province of Canada.
I am not so sure I would push that opinion too heavily yet, since so many islanders are sore about being pushed into Confederation.
It should not be the yeomen or farmers in opposition to Confederation, considering one of the terms of the Union is that the Dominion government is loaning the island government $800,000 to buy out the absentee landowners.
Oh, King George's foolish land lottery 100 years ago to pay off war debts has certainly inhibited the growth of our island. People haven't been willing to come here and be tenants like they were in the old countries.
And why would they be when land was available in other North American settlements?
Well, that's about to change. Finally, our farmers can look at buying the land that they farm from the island government and pay for it in installments. No longer will they be insecure tenants working to line the pockets of landowners.
Well, they will still be disadvantaged to their counterparts in other provinces.
Good morning, Myra.
Morning, Sarah. Summerside will be crawling with people today as farmers and fishers from across the county pour in for the exhibition. I do hope the drinking will be at a minimum so the fights will be far and few between.
My goodness, look at the drill shed. It's been done up splendidly for the exhibition.
The militia must be commended for allowing it to be used in this manner.
Summerside was one of the militia towns in Prince Edward Island. Drill sheds were built in 3 communities in 1866 out of fear that the island could be targeted for attack by the American Fenians. They were a secret group of Irish Americans who made cross-border attacks on northern British colonies in the hope of winning Irish independence from the British.
The drill shed has proven a great addition to Summerside as a public building. Converting it to a rink in the winter is so much better than skating on the harbor.
I love the costume skating parties and the summer concerts that are held here.
Goodness, look at the displays. What a sea of color. The judges are at the vegetable table, but the ribbons are already on the handiwork display. Let's start there. Good heavens! Miss Alexandrine McGuinness won the prize for best pair of men's drawers. That seems rather naughty.
We could all do with a bit of naughty. Mrs. John Rogers of Bedeck took the prize for the best linen sheets. And see here, Mrs. D. Gillis of Muscush took the prize for the best linen towels. Oh, and she also won the best flax sample.
We're fortunate flax grows so well here on the island. and that the sheep thrive. The two fibers keep most of us clothed.
I just wish sheep weren't so contrary and always trying to escape their pasture. Just listen to them bleating in the pens.
You might bleat too if you had their stress of awaiting judging.
Considering we're just property of men, we have lots to bleat about. I had hoped Confederation might change that, but not so.
Whatever gave you that idea, since considering Confederation was the work of men?
There's certainly a fine number of horn cattle for show, and the pigs look in good shape.
The livestock on farms is gradually improving with the government's investment in good male breeders to travel.
Islanders sure love their horses. Look at that massive stallion of Mr. Hall's that took first prize.
I can't imagine that he's easy to handle. That colt of Mr. Kelly from Somerset is only a year and a half old and already weighs over 1,300 pounds.
You know, it was sired by the old Clyde that Henry Clark at North Bedeck owns. I think I'll hire his services for my work mares.
Look there, Oliver. The judge is going to announce the winner of the best carriage mare.
If I can have everyone's attention, I have selected the Reverend Mr. Brewer's mare as the top entry. She was unrivaled by any animal on the grounds for beauty and symmetry of appearance. Therefore, a clear winner.
Maybe you'll check out her sire. A fine driving horse elevates a man's status in the community.
Well, Myra, it's nice to see that women took the top butter-making prizes.
Yes, but Jason McNutt cleaned up in the cheese classes.
Considering how stiff the competition was, he should be pleased. Our cheesemakers hold their own in England's competitions. Oh, look, Mrs. George Tanton won for the best honey pot. See how golden it is.
The produce is endless. Grapes, pears, plums, cooking and eating apples, cultivated cranberries, cabbage, turnips, and carrots. No one should go hungry on the island this winter.
Well, remember, not every islander has a root cellar filled with the bounty of the land and sea. Summerside's laborers will know a long winter of unemployment with more mealtimes than meals.
Then perhaps they should take a lesson from wildlife and store up when they have work. It is only common sense.
Common sense is of little help when you're forced to spend half of your wage at a company store or don't have a land beside a shanty for a garden. It is troublesome to see children having to beg at the back doors of the better homes during the dead of winter.
Right you are, Sarah. I was thoughtless in that remark. I will count my blessings doubly in my evening prayers.
Me too. Well, here we are in the fish exhibit. My, the rest of the fishermen might as well have stayed home. H.S. McNutt cleaned up at the codfish, lobster, and canned mackerel classes.
Ezra, where have you been? I've been looking at the potato exhibit, and I see that Abraham Skierman's early rose variety are at the top of the pile again, as they are at George Compton's Calcos.
I was looking at the cereal crops. They turned off well this year. The black oats and the Indian corn looked especially good. And the Timothy and red clover in the grass seeds category had a goodly number of entries.
Of course. If a farmer can take top prize, the other farmers will be clamoring to buy seed. So it is a good business move to enter.
What's your opinion on the agricultural implements, James? I think they made for a poor show other than the improved stumping machine by William Cousins. There is certainly a wide field for improvements in this line to be had. You would think our mechanics could see that.
Well now, labor-saving machines are the order of the day the world over. PEI mechanics should be setting their heads to working in the same direction. Lots of farmers are saying that there could be improvements in the island-produced plows, harrows, and threshing machines. You would think that since Summerside's Tom Eustace is so inventive, that he would turn his head to such thoughts.
Easy enough for us to say. But I imagine that no matter how inventive one is, the task of coming up with improvements on the basic designs is a major challenge.
Well, the wagon and the carriage builders did us proud. Great to see entries from right across the county.
Well, if it isn't Mr. Ives, how good to see you up from Charlottetown. What do you think of our Prince County exhibition?
Well, it is a fine show, but if I was being totally truthful, I'd have to say it's not as good as the Kings County exhibition that I just attended. It seems the people of Prince County are in many things behind the good people of the East.
Really, Mr. Ives? That is regrettable, if indeed it is true. I shall publish your comment in my editorial in the Summerside Journal to act as a stimulus to increase our efforts. I see no reason why Prince County would be behind her sister counties in anything. As for intelligence, Prince County can boast an equality, if not a preeminence. Be sure to attend the 1874 Prince County exhibition, Mr. Ives.
Well, it is my hope that by next year the government will have put in place a general exhibition for the whole island that will bring the best of all 3 island counties to the forefront. I'm sure the money expended upon our exhibitions will one day prove to be a judicious expenditure.
Over time, more and more island communities held exhibitions to celebrate the work of island farmers, fishers, mechanics, and the skills of home economics. Prize money was small, but the ribbons were long treasured. Exhibitions brought people together, and many islanders who left to seek work in other places planned their summer holidays to come home at the time of their favorite exhibition. The Prince County exhibition of 1873 reflected how self-sufficient the people of a fertile island were in meeting their basic needs for survival and in growing their own economy. It is a part of history that perhaps should be remembered and contemplated today as fault lines appear in the globalization methodology.
The Prince County exhibition presented by Wyatt Heritage Properties Incorporated. Narrator, Stuart Smith. Willard, Thane Clark. James, Wayne Wright. Sarah, Mary Dennis. Myra, Janet Rose Hurst. Oliver, Stephen Hurst. Ezra, Javin Mayhew. Judge, Daniel McLeod. Mrs. Ives, Richard Matthews. Foley's, Nathan Wiley, Jim Dixon, Scott McLeod. Musician, Alexandra Arsenault. Researcher, Jean McKay. Scriptwriter, Marlene Campbell. Recording engineer, Peter Gallant. Any errors in historical accuracy in the composition of the script are the responsibility of Wyatt Heritage Properties. This project has been supported by the Department of Canadian Heritage Building Communities through Arts and Heritage Program and the City of Summerside.